I punished someone for messing with my account on the PlayStation Network. Here's how it begins, though I was quite little at the time. One day, a dear buddy of mine from the PlayStation Network told me that he had unlocked the Platinum Trophy for Cars 2 and would be happy to offer it to me. We had been friends for months. I accepted his offer, but I altered all of my personal information, aside from my email address, to fictitious before giving it to him. I even modified my password. I was foolish enough to trust him, so I gave him my password and sign-in ID after that. Initially, he took no action. Because I trusted him so much, I followed his instructions to disable my PlayStation 3. When I informed him that I had deactivated my system, he proceeded to activate his system on my account in order to obtain games and digital add-ons from me. I did not know much about deactivating and activating systems at the time because I was so young. I was pretty upset when I discovered that I could not play any of my digital games after my system was deactivated, but I made an effort to remain calm around him. I politely requested that he turn off his system on my account. Here's where the mayhem starts. While I am asleep, he logs back into my account, and when I wake up, I discover that my login information has changed. I cried over it because I was so upset. At the age of 11, I was ill-equipped to deal with the situation. I called PlayStation to retrieve my account since I was unsure of what to do, and they informed me that it had been permanently suspended due to a violation of the terms of use. Using my new PlayStation account, I confronted him. Playing dumb, he asked, "What are you talking about?" He threatened to use physical force on me after I insulted him. I was not foolish for taking his threat. This was my opportunity to win him back since I eventually figured out how to hack PlayStation accounts. Since I knew his email address, I was able to use a tool to determine the date of birth of a PlayStation Network account. I lied to Sony and said, "My account has been compromised. Could you please help me?" when I received his birth date. I provide Sony's birth date, email address, and online ID. They gave it to me, and I used my PS4 to get into his account. He was playing when I essentially took over his account. In order to get his account back, he also called Sony, but I repeatedly called Sony to do the same. After a while, Sony banned his account permanently because they believed he was sharing games because I was the reason his account kept getting compromised. He squandered all that time earning those platinum trophies, but they stayed meaningless in his life, which made me laugh and feel incredibly pleased of myself. So Night Diaries Hub was banned from his account for good? Man, I am shocked that he survived this entire situation at the age of 12. It appears that he never regained his account, which is a lose-lose situation for both parties, at least in terms of obtaining the retribution he sought. Both parties lose all of their digital games as a result, and I was unaware that Sony would simply ban you for something like this. This would be terrible because many people have their entire collection in digital format, but I imagine that fewer people had only digital games back when the PS3 was available than there were with physical ones. He was willing to give him a platinum trophy for Cars 2, which is the point where I do not understand why he would even be interested. Is that even possible? How can one person award another with a trophy? I do not really pursue awards. I believe that you had to do everything on your account yourself in order to receive a trophy. Perhaps he was implying that he would access his account and award him the platinum trophy for the most arbitrary game to receive one, Cars 2. However, please share your thoughts with me. How would you respond if you were in this circumstance? Is it an NDH twist or not? I was pulled aside and patted down during my sister's fiancé's wedding, and Night Diaries Hub was furious about it. I am a 25-year-old addict who has spent the last 6 months in recovery. I continued to use until I was essentially living in poverty, and my older sister repeatedly came to my rescue. I know it was really painful for her to see me in that state, and she is my best friend. 3 years ago, she also met her fiancé, who at the time just knew me as the junkie sibling. Given what I did to my sister, he is, to put it mildly, not my biggest fan. She wanted me to attend her wedding last week because I am her brother, so she invited me in spite of this. My brother-in-law is introducing himself to guests as they enter the reception when I arrive. In front of everyone, he takes me aside as I pass, pats me down, and says he needs to inspect me to make sure I did not bring anything in. I warn him not to touch me and automatically pull away because I would not otherwise. He tells me to relax and that he must do this if I wish to be present. I push by him after telling him that his behavior is absurd. He stops me and says that although he does not want to, he will evict me if necessary. He is trying to look tough, but he is only making himself look foolish, I reminded him. I am virtually screaming in his face right now because I am growing angrier by the moment. My brother-in-law was told to stop bystanders who intervened and split us up. He said he would, but that when I go out of control, they can handle it. After that, I simply proceeded to find a seat. My relatives told me after the wedding that I should have let him do it on his own, that I was being a big NDH twist, and that I had something to conceal. I do not believe my response was excessive, and I do not believe he had any right to pat me down, particularly in public. If anything, he was the one who started the drama to appear tough, behaving like a gigantic NDH twist. Night Diaries Hub. My sister has refused to take sides in this. Although the brother-in-law's actions are clearly an NDH twist, weddings are generally an exception. In this instance, he most likely did not want to take any chances that something would go wrong at the wedding, and the OP could have just acknowledged that. Given the circumstances, I believe this is something that would happen given the OP's history and his knowledge of his sister's struggles. Perhaps if the brother-in-law had said that, he would have realized it, but the OP was clearly offended, and rightfully so, as it seems to imply that he is still not clean and that he will be attempting to bring something to the wedding. As he states in this piece. Although I still do not believe the brother-in-law should have done this, if he felt compelled to do it for some reason, he should have done it privately because, based on what I have heard, he did it in public to the point where onlookers separated them. What would you do if you were in this situation, NDH twist or not? It seems as like the brother-in-law did not even have a strategy for this and just thought to act on instinct in the moment without giving it much thought, assuming it would be normal when it is clearly not. To see if anyone noticed, I substituted my twin brother for myself at my in-laws' Christmas Eve party, using Night Diaries Hub. I have an identical twin brother and I am 32 years old. I have been telling my wife for a while that her family does not care about anything I do on Christmas Eve, but they still insist that I go. That is untrue, she assured me, they actually like me and like our conversations. However, I am aware that the only times they have included me, I have essentially had to force myself into talks, which seems uncomfortable and out of place. In order to see if anyone noticed, my wife and I decided to bring my twin brother Ryan instead of myself. Ryan knew why we were doing it, that it was a game, and that I had given him $20, but I purposefully did not prepare him for anything. Ryan verified what I suspected, that he was not approached during the night, that no one could tell he was not me, and that he even felt excluded, even though he could only imagine how I felt. Ryan, who is not married or in a relationship, usually spends the holidays with my parents, so this morning on Christmas I offered him to come. They were definitely aware of him, but they were unaware of the switcheroo. At that time, I disclosed that I was Ryan from the previous evening and voiced my sadness that no one had noticed. I responded, "That is why I stopped trying, no one talks to me." My wife drew the line there, thinking that this would remain a private joke between us, but if I do not reveal it, how can I expect her relatives to see what NDH twists they have been? Is Night Diaries Hub responsible for substituting my identical brother for me at my in-laws' Christmas Eve celebration? It appears that he and his spouse were somewhat at odds over this. He interpreted this as revealing them for the awful individuals they are, while she clearly regarded it as a fun jest. Therefore, I do not believe they had the same ideas going into this, and it becomes worse when he tries to expose them without even consulting his wife. It also likely gives the impression that the wife was attempting to expose her own family in this whole situation. Testing those around you to see if they pass your exam or not is also awful, but it is awful that the in-laws do not include him, try to involve him, or talk to him for any reason. If that is what you want, that will not make others like you more. It sounds like he wants the in-law family to like him, respect him, or say something similar. He is attempting to shame them about it instead of talking to him about it, which does not seem to be working very well. I guess also he probably has a different vision of how a family should be. In his opinion, they ought to be more hospitable and make an effort to include him, but from his perspective, her family, the wife's family, clearly does not automatically include individuals. There are two distinct ways of being, and it seems like they hardly notice him at all. Let me know what you would do if you were in this circumstance, whether you were an NDH twist or not. It sounds like it would be awful for both sides. After learning that my son had damaged his stepbrother's deceased brother's hoodie, Night Diaries Hub cancelled his birthday celebration. I will try my best to explain, but this is a complicated subject. I am a 46-year-old man with a 17-year-old biological son named Jaden from a prior relationship. His stepmother, whom I married, is the mother of two boys, Andrew, 13, and Maverick, 21, who is now deceased. Maverick died tragically in a motorbike accident, and I never had the opportunity to meet him. This tragedy crushed 13-year-old Andrew, and even after years, he is still essentially in mourning. I have looked at a ton of photos of Maverick and tried to learn more about him in order to sympathize with Andrew's loss and be there to listen and support him. Although my son, Jaden, is not close to Andrew, it is reasonable to say that we quickly developed a deep bond. Not all siblings and step-siblings are the same, so it makes sense. Although it is not a terrible thing that Jaden and Andrew are different in every way, Jaden refers to himself as the brutally honest kind and frequently makes hurtful remarks about Andrew while claiming to be giving guidance. Since Andrew never voiced any complaints, I had to intervene and advise Jaden to stop treating his stepbrother insensitively, particularly in light of everything that has happened with Maverick and his memory. Jaden would respond, "All right, I understand, and I promise not to do it again." Jaden asked Andrew if he wanted to join him in hanging out with buddies a few days previously. Before leaving, Andrew put on Maverick's hoodie after agreeing. Jaden deemed the hoodie unattractive and suggested that he wear something different, but Andrew insisted on wearing it anyhow. Jaden let it fall. After several hours, Andrew sobbed as he carried his hoodie home. He claimed that after persuading him to remove it, Jaden and his friends chopped it into pieces while he was in the restroom. I was enraged. Jaden told me it was his friend's idea when I inquired, but he added that he had to do it since Andrew wears it everywhere and it looks dated and awkward. He said, "So what? Maybe this will help me move on in life," when I reminded him who owned the hoodie. I informed him that his buddies were no longer welcome and that his birthday had been cancelled. He threw a tantrum, claiming that I could not cancel his birthday since it was a right, not a privilege. He wanted to throw his birthday party and had my ex critique my choice, but I declined since he is grounded and there cannot be a party anyplace. I stressed that Jaden needed punishment for putting his stepbrother through this, but she and her family branded me terrible and crazy and urged me to consider how he would hate me for it. So Night Diaries Hub for calling off my son's birthday after learning that he had damaged the hoodie belonging to his deceased stepbrother. Did he tear the hoodie apart? There is a severe problem with Jaden's thinking. This goes much beyond simply chopping up a hoodie at random. He is defending his choice of this sweatshirt by claiming that it might enable him to move on with his life. I suppose Jaden is indifferent to this. He has absolutely no sympathy for Andrew after he has gone through this absurdly horrific experience and destroyed something that he is clinging to as a reminder of his brother. It is also strange that Jaden's mother, who I assume is the ex in question, does not seem to understand the seriousness of this situation. Despite the fact that her son stole and destroyed someone else's souvenir of their deceased relative, she still wants to throw a birthday celebration. And that is simply typical. Even though this is his own stepbrother, it would still be a very severe act of cruelty if it were committed by a complete stranger. Someone you have to live with in person. What would you do, then, if you were the father in this circumstance? And for calling off his son's birthday because he destroyed the hoodie, is he the NDH twist? For bringing charges against my son, Night Diaries Hub. During his brief visit, my 29-year-old son was at my house by himself, watching my daughter's child. My son claims that his niece, my 5-year-old granddaughter, broke the TV the other day when she dragged it down. My kid informed us that the TV was broken and unusable, so he took it to the landfill. The parents of my 5-year-old granddaughter, my daughter and son-in-law, were devastated by what had happened and covered the cost of the TV that day. Our son's narrative does not hold up, and my husband was looking at our security cameras. Our granddaughter never breaks the television. We just witness our kid removing the undamaged television. When we questioned our son about it, he explained that the footage of our granddaughter smashing the TV must have been captured by the security camera. After a while, my son's girlfriend, who lives with him, called me. She claimed to feel sorry and to be aware of what was happening. In essence, she informed us that our kid had made up the tale of the TV breaking, taken it, and watched it at their place. In order to retrieve our TV, his girlfriend allowed the cops to enter their home after I made a police report. It is our intention to file charges against him. He forced my daughter to pay for our TV after stealing it. That is messed up in a lot of ways. For pressing charges, use the Diaries hub. Even though it is on the security camera film, the son is clearly disputing this, and I presume he will do so when the TV is taken out of his home. What is he going to say? I am not sure. Really, I am not sure what you can say there. I do not think he will just acknowledge that he lied to everyone. I made your daughter pay for the TV that I took. Since it is not even a necessity of life, it would be helpful to know whether something similar has happened previously, but it is likely going to be some other random event. It is a premium TV. I need food for tomorrow or I will not survive. This is not the same as stealing this and covering it up. He would do this over a television that sounds like you are just going to watch TV on, which is just strange. It is as if you were selling it for food or whatever you would need. He simply stole it so he could watch it on a nicer, larger TV. One of the opinions seems to have stated that he is strongly against involving the dysfunctional U.S. legal system in family disputes unless there is violence. There were other ways to handle this besides involving the police and creating a permanent record. How much was the TV, after all? Is the son now a felon who is unable to vote, rent a home, or find employment? Which someone else answered, or there are some who have experienced similar things, attempted to deal with family issues, and were burned for it. For example, 9 years later, my mom was being talked to about how both of my half-siblings had financially exploited her. Things probably would have gone better for her and my half-siblings if she had simply filed charges when things were not so awful. These actions intensify. If you do not stop them right away, they will continue. The whole "you are not welcome here anymore" thing was tried by my mom. Are you aware of what transpired? After stealing her safe, breaking through the locks on her closet and bedroom door, and frequently breaking into her home, my siblings pawned all of my grandmother's jewelry. What would you do, then, if you discovered that a family member had deceived you and taken anything, in this case, a large television, from you? Does her filing accusations against her son make her the NDH twist?